Within the Soul Society, there are two legendary Shinigami that stand above all others. Each of them represents fundamentally different philosophies of power which have helped to shape the universe of Bleach. On one side, we have Head Captain Yamamoto, the fearsome leader of the Gotei 13, with his fiery iron will that has helped to shape the Soul Society over the last 2 millennia. On the other hand, you have Ichibē Hyōsube, the monk who calls the real name, whose existence predates the Soul Society itself. In this video, I'm daring to go over one of the most controversial power scaling debates: who would win in a battle between Ichibē and Yamamoto. Will Yamamoto's 15 million degree Bankai stand a chance against Ichibē's reality-altering name manipulation abilities? It's going to be really interesting diving into each of these characters and seeing how their powers and abilities are going to interact, as it makes you wonder if Yamamoto's flames are able to overcome Ichibē's authority to strip away names and rewrite existence itself. The answer to this power scaling debate isn't as straightforward as you might think, so you are definitely going to want to watch all of this video to find out who is going to win in this ultimate battle. Now, before we dive into the topic of the video, I have launched an all-new channel called Super Alpha EX. On this channel, I give my thoughts on the latest games as well as covering reviews and commentaries on whatever I feel passionate about. So if you enjoy my Bleach content and want to see me talk about other stuff that I love, then definitely check out Super Alpha EX. It's an all-new channel with 2 videos on there so far. I've got a video on the Nintendo Switch 2 and everything that we know about it, as well as a video on GTA 6 covering all of the essential information that Rockstar has revealed thus far. So yeah, go over to Super Alpha EX, subscribe to the channel, and look out for more weekly content that I'll be posting on there. So we need to first set up some conditions for this battle. The battle between Yamamoto and Ichibē needs to take place within an uninhabited area where both combatants can truly unleash the full extent of their power without worrying about any collateral damage. So this can be either in the outskirts of the Soul Society beyond Rukongai, or it could even take place within the Royal Palace. Now, I'm going to be using both of these characters at their prime as shown within the manga and the anime. For Yamamoto, this means that it'll be his final appearance within the 1000-year Blood War arc, where he has access to his completed Bankai, and Ichibē on the other hand will examine his abilities as they've been displayed in his battle against Yhwach within the same arc. So there are no real restrictions for either Ichibē or Yamamoto, as we'll see both of them having access to their full arsenal of abilities and techniques, including their Bankai and Shikai. For fairness, there's going to be no outside assistance for either of them, so the Royal Guard cannot assist Ichibē and the Gotei 13 cannot assist Yamamoto. So this is purely a 1v1 fight. And the conditions for winning is either death or complete incapacitation, given that both of these characters have extreme levels of stamina and durability, and then when you take into consideration Ichibē's ability to reconstitute himself as long as somebody says his name, a simple knockout isn't going to be sufficient to declare a victor within this fight. Let's now dive into the profiles of each of the characters, beginning with Ichibē. So Ichibē is the leader of the Royal Guard and he bears the title of the monk who calls the real name. His existence predates the formation of the Soul Society, and he was present during the primordial world before the Soul King had divided reality into the 3 realms. As one of the original beings coming from the time of the Soul King, Ichibē was the first to name all of the things within the Soul Society, including the concept of the Zanpakuto, Shikai, and Bankai. This gives him the fundamental authority over all ideas and concepts that the Shinigamis use to fight. With Ichibē's main duty being to protect the Soul King and his palace, it places him at the very top of the hierarchy of Shinigami, outranking even the leader of the Gotei 13. Ichibē's knowledge and wisdom is unparalleled, as he has observed and influenced the Soul Society's development for over 1 million years. But deep down he harbors a cold, pragmatic demeanor stemming from his loyalty to maintaining the status quo at any cost. So Ichibē has demonstrated some incredible battle feats, and these were mainly during his fight against Yhwach. He effortlessly sent Yhwach flying 1000 ri, which are units of measurement that are equivalent to 4,000 kilometers, and this is with a single palm strike. He then caught up to him almost instantaneously, showcasing both his immense strength and speed. Ichibē also countered Yhwach's Blutvin, a defensive blood technique, by simply flexing his muscles, reversing its effects back onto Yhwach himself, and in turn causing the Quincy's blood vessels to rupture. Ichibē was also able to withstand direct attacks from Yhwach before the activation of the Almighty, demonstrating that he has exceptional durability. He even overpowered Yhwach's attacks with sheer physical strength, and he even halved the strength of Yhwach's arm with a single strike. And perhaps one of the most impressive feats is that Ichibē was only defeated after Yhwach activated the Almighty, an ability that allows Yhwach to pick his desired outcome from the future and to bring it to the present. Essentially, it's the ultimate Deus Ex Machina ability. Even after Ichibē's body was blown to smithereens, he demonstrated the power to reconstitute himself by having someone speak his name, showcasing that he has a form of conditional immortality. Ichibē's primary powers center around names and the color black. As the namer of all things within the Soul Society, Ichibē can control the true names of beings and objects, as he can strip names away or bestow new names onto things. Fundamentally, he is able to alter their nature and power via the names that he grants to objects or people. His Zanpakuto takes the form of a large calligraphy brush. When released, it splashes black ink that can remove the name of anything that the ink touches. Objects or beings that lose their names also lose their powers, effectively becoming nameless and powerless. Ichibē commands all black within the universe, and this extends beyond simple manipulation of the color. He is able to control over the very conceptual nature of darkness itself, as he can gather black from all beings, whether if they are living or dead, in order to empower himself. Then we have Ichibē's Bankai called Shirafude Ichimonji. This final release of his Zanpakuto allows him to not only remove names but to assign a new name with his white brush. And when he renames something, he changes its very nature. For example, he renamed Yhwach as Black Ant, reducing his power to that of an insect. Ichibē also possesses the ability Futen Taisatsu Ryo. This is a devastating technique where he draws upon darkness from 100 nights from the Soul Society's future as he creates a massive mausoleum that consumes his opponent's darkness, including their flesh, blood, and bones, as he essentially erases them to the point that they cannot even reincarnate. Now, as the leader of the Zero Division, he has also demonstrated exceptional skill with Kido, using high-level and even secret Kido spells without incantation. Another key ability that I've already discussed is that he has the power to reconstitute his body even if it's completely destroyed. And this is on the condition that someone speaks his name. Through them speaking his name, he steals a small amount of their power in order to recreate himself. On the other hand, we have Head Captain Yamamoto, who has served as the commander of the Gotei 13, a position that he has held since the Gotei 13 was founded over 1,000 years ago. Yamamoto's leadership has shaped the Soul Society's military force, and his reputation for strength and wisdom is unparalleled amongst the other captains. Originally, he was a ruthless leader who would sacrifice anything for the sake of victory. Yamamoto gradually developed a code of honor and justice over the hundreds of years that he has been in charge of the Gotei 13. In the early days, Yamamoto was also an instructor within the Shinigami Academy, so he has ended up teaching some of the most powerful captains, including Shunsui and Ukitake. Yamamoto's influence on the Soul Society's power structure cannot be overstated, as he had single-handedly defeated Yhwach in their first encounter over 1,000 years ago. Now, unfortunately, Yamamoto failed to kill him as Yhwach survived and returned in the present day and had taken Yamamoto out. Now, Yamamoto's declaration that no Shinigami stronger than him has been born in the last 1,000 years had stood largely unchallenged until his death. A Shinigami at the level of Yamamoto has several incredible battle accomplishments. Like I mentioned, he defeated Yhwach during their first battle, which had forced the Quincy leader into a 1,000-year exile as he had recovered and planned for a counterattack. Yamamoto was able to easily overpower both Ukitake and Shunsui at the same time, two of the most skilled captains in the Gotei 13, without sustaining any injuries, and this was during the Soul Society arc. Yamamoto defeated the Arrancar Wonderwise, who were specifically modified by Aizen in order to seal the flames of Yamamoto's Zanpakuto, as Yamamoto only used hand-to-hand combat to defeat the Arrancar. Yamamoto also contained an explosion from Wonderwise that would have vaporized an area greater than and Fate Karakura Town, as this demonstrates both his durability and control. Yamamoto also incinerated 3 Sternritter, which were Asnot, Nanana and Bazby at the same time, with a casual release of his Shikai. Even while he was missing an arm, he completely dominated his fight against Royd Lloyd, who at the time was impersonating Yhwach. This eventually had forced Yhwach himself to intervene to take out Yamamoto. The head captain has some powerful signature abilities that are centered around fire and overwhelming brute force. His Zanpakuto Ryujin-Jaka with its Shikai is easily the oldest and most powerful fire-type Zanpakuto, as it's able to engulf the length of the blade in flames as it can incinerate anything that it touches. Its heat is so intense that it can scorch the sky and consume clouds. Ryujin-Jaka possesses an ability called Jogaku Enjo, which creates an impenetrable wall of fire, which was able to imprison even Aizen, Gin and Tozen during the Fate Karakura Town arc. He also has a power called Ennetsu Jigoku, which forms massive pillars of fire that surround and trap his opponent, and it's capable of destroying everything within its vicinity, including Yamamoto himself if necessary. Now, easily the highlight of Yamamoto's moveset is his Bankai Zanka no Tachi. This concentrates all of Ryujin-Jaka's flames into his Zanpakuto, as it allows him to embody the heat of the sun. Zanka no Tachi East concentrates flames at the blade's edge, allowing it to eradicate anything that it touches from existence. Zanka no Tachi West creates an armor of flames which reaches over 15 million degrees, thus making Yamamoto untouchable as he can vaporize anything that approaches him. Zanka no Tachi South summons the burnt corpses of all of the victims that Yamamoto has killed with his Zanpakuto as they fight on his behalf. And then lastly, Zanka no Tachi North delivers a singular slash which incinerates everything in its path out of existence. Yamamoto is a formidable hand-to-hand combat fighter, as he demonstrated this during his fight against Wonderwise, as his Hakuda techniques include devastating strikes like Ikotsu, a single punch that destroyed most of Wonderwise's abdomen, and Sokotsu, a two-fisted punch which had completely destroyed Wonderwise. Yamamoto is also a Kido master, as he is able to perform high-level spells without incantation. This includes the devastating Hado 96 Itokaso, which he had used against Aizen at the cost of his own arm. So let's now see how Yamamoto and Ichibē compare in terms of their abilities. Yamamoto's power is direct and overwhelming, with his Reiatsu manifesting as literal flames. This demonstrates how his spiritual pressure alone is destructive enough to take physical form. Ryujin-Jaka channels this into concentrated fire that operates on a scale that is comparable to celestial bodies, with his Bankai being able to reach temperatures of 15 million degrees, which matches the core of the sun. This sheer destructive capacity represents the absolute peak of conventional Shinigami combat power. Ichibē's abilities operate on more of a conceptual, almost metaphysical level, where he possesses tremendous physical strength and speed, and his true power lies in his authority over names and the color black. This isn't simply a unique Zanpakuto ability, but it's a fundamental level of cosmic control, which Ichibē doesn't just manipulate darkness, he commands all blackness in existence from all beings, whether if they are living and dead across all realms. This conceptual power allows him to rewrite reality at a fundamental level by changing what things are named and thus what they are. When Yamamoto releases his spiritual pressure, it manifests as an overwhelming force of heat and pressure which can paralyze lieutenant level Shinigami. Ichibē's Reiatsu is more subtle but no less powerful. It's sufficient enough to affect beings across dimensional boundaries, as he can resist the effects of powers like Yhwach's potent Blutveen and Haben simply by flexing his muscles. Yamamoto has demonstrated mastery over all Shinigami combat arts, including Zanjutsu, Hakuda, Hoho, and Kido, allowing him to fight effectively given any situation. His expertise in hand-to-hand combat had allowed him to defeat Wonderwise like I have mentioned, and meanwhile, Ichibē's versatility comes from his mysterious, almost limitless control over names and darkness, allowing him to redefine the parameters and limitations of a battle itself. Ichibē can casually halve his opponent's power by slicing their name or removing it entirely, creating a combat advantage for himself which can't be matched through conventional means. The very difference in their ultimate techniques also reveals a lot about their contrasting natures. Yamamoto's Bankai Zanka no Tachi operates through overwhelming force, whether if it's by concentrating heat to erase matter, cloaking Yamamoto in solar level temperatures, or summoning the dead, or delivering extinction level slashes. Meanwhile, Shirafude Ichimonji doesn't destroy directly, it redefines. As Ichibē was able to rename Yhwach as Black Ant, this wasn't just him weakening him, as he had fundamentally altered Yhwach on a conceptual level, giving him the strength of an insect. What's amazing about both of these characters is that they had faced off against Yhwach in their own respective battles. Yamamoto's fight was a clash of raw power, with his Bankai forcing Yhwach to resort to trickery rather than a direct confrontation. Yhwach had wanted Yamamoto to use his Bankai on his doppelganger so that he could arrive and then take out Yamamoto after he has exhausted his strength. Ichibē's battle, however, was one where Yhwach's tremendous power proved to be insufficient until he had activated the Almighty. This does suggest that Ichibē's control over conceptual reality may in some way beat the overwhelming force that Yamamoto was in control of. This now brings us to examining their raw physical capabilities. There are some really interesting contrasts in how each of these characters apply their incredible power in battle situations. In terms of pure strength, both Ichibē and Yamamoto demonstrate abilities that are far beyond ordinary captain level Shinigami. Ichibē's physical might is perhaps best demonstrated by his effortless palm strike against Yhwach, the Senri Sutensho technique, which had propelled the Quincy King 4,000 kilometers away with casual ease. And I've mentioned this before, Yhwach's Blut Vin Anhaben, when the blood-based defensive technique attempted to consume Ichibē, he simply flexed his muscles with such force that it reversed the blood flow back into Yhwach, causing the Quincy King's blood vessels to rupture. Now, this demonstrates that Ichibē possesses a level of physical raw power that transcends normal Shinigami limitations. Now, Yamamoto, on the other hand, does have his own physical feats that he has demonstrated, and again, we have to refer to his Hakuda techniques like Ikotsu, a single punch which was powerful enough to obliterate most of Wonderwise's abdomen. Yamamoto had resorted to hand-to-hand combat after Wonderwise had neutralized the flames of his Zanpakuto. Yamamoto's follow-up attack Sokotsu completely shattered Wonderwise's body, showing that even without his Zanpakuto, he possesses tremendous destructive capability just through the raw physical force that he can generate. Perhaps one of his most impressive feats was his ability to contain an explosion from Wonderwise, which was powerful enough to vaporize an area larger than Karakura Town, as he absorbed much of the force of the explosion just with his body alone. In terms of speed feats, there are some impressive ones to discuss with these characters. Ichibē demonstrated near instantaneous travel when he had caught up to Yhwach after sending him flying thousands of kilometers away. This suggests that his movement speeds defy normal limitations of space. His combat speed also proved to be exceptional, allowing him to outmaneuver Yhwach in close quarters combat, as he was able to land multiple decisive blows before the Quincy King could effectively counter him. Yamamoto has equally impressive speed feats, having been shown to outpace both Shunsui and Ukitake at the same time during their confrontation in the Soul Society arc. He arrived at their destination before they even realized that he had moved, and this suggests that he has a mastery of Shunpo at levels even some veteran captains wouldn't be able to keep track of. In terms of their combat technique, both Yamamoto and Ichibē have a very versatile combat style. Given the situation, Yamamoto can easily adjust to Hakuda or Zanjutsu, and Ichibē pretty much demonstrates the ability to do exactly the same. With Ichibē, we see him incorporating his mastery over names and darkness directly into his physical combat style. He transitions effortlessly between conventional strikes with his spiritual pressure manipulation and even his conceptual abilities. During his battle with Yhwach, he demonstrated a power to instantaneously switch between different combat modes, from direct physical confrontation to high-level Kido to then Zanpakuto techniques, as he created an unpredictable fighting style that even Yhwach struggled to counter before he finally gained access to the Almighty. We now turn our attention towards the intelligence and strategy level of both of these combatants. Yamamoto's tactical approach reflects his position as a military leader, and it's been honed through centuries of leading the Gotei 13, as during his battle with Royd Lloyd, Yamamoto displayed remarkable psychological warfare, deliberately prolonging the confrontation in order to inflict maximum terror against his opponent. Rather than immediately unleashing his full power, he systematically unveiled Zankai no Tachi's abilities one by one, using each revelation to further demoralize his opponent. This psychological dimension to Yamamoto's fighting style showcases a commander who understands that fights are won not just through superior force, but by breaking the will of an opponent. In contrast, Ichibē approaches battles with the perspective of someone who has witnessed the very formation of the Soul Society itself. His fight against Yhwach revealed that he is a fighter who immediately assesses his opponent's fundamental nature, and he attacks not just their body, but their very identity. He had striked Yhwach's name, reducing Arm to AR, and then later renaming Yhwach to Black Ant. Ichibē demonstrates a strategy that bypasses conventional combat altogether, as he targets the conceptual foundation of his opponent's existence. So while Yamamoto represents the peak of what can be achieved through over 1,000 years of combat experience and leadership, Ichibē on the other hand embodies a deeper understanding of the very concepts that define reality within the Bleach universe, thus making their potential confrontation not just a fight of power, but a clash between ultimate conventional wisdom and primordial cosmic understanding. We now turn our attention towards their levels of durability and stamina. Both Ichibē and Yamamoto's level of resilience and endurance are going to be critical factors in determining the outcome of this fight. Ichibē's durability transcends normal understanding, as during his battle with Yhwach, he withstood multiple direct attacks from the Quincy King with minimal visible damage. When he was struck by Yhwach's arrow, he sustained only a minor scratch. This is a testament to his immense resilience against attacks, which would have obliterated any ordinary captain. Most impressively, when Yhwach activated the Almighty and had seemingly destroyed Ichibē's torso completely, the monk had retained consciousness and had the ability to communicate telepathically with Ichigo. This suggests that he possesses a form of durability that extends beyond the physical form, and it's rooted in his primordial nature. As long as he can borrow powers from somebody who has said his name, he is able to reconstitute himself from the verge of death, thus giving him a level of immortality. Yamamoto operates on more of a normal framework of durability, as he demonstrates resilience that is unmatched in comparison to the other members of the Gotei 13. He was able to absorb Chojuro Sasakibe's Bankai lightning strike directly, dismissing it as merely a nice try. During his final battle, Yamamoto withstood Royd Lloyd's Sanct Zwinger with minimal damage, and his most remarkable durability feat occurred when he contained Wonderwise's detonation, an explosion that would have vaporized an area larger than Karakura Town, and he had done so again using his body as a human shield, suffering severe burns, but he had remained conscious and was able to continue fighting Aizen immediately after this. Yamamoto's stamina, while it is extraordinary, has been demonstrated to show definable limits. His Bankai Zankai no Tachi consumes tremendous amounts of energy, eventually leading to exhaustion if he has it activated for too long. This was evident during his battle with Royd, where despite dominating most of the fight, the continuous use of his Bankai began to take its toll on Yamamoto. Now, Unohana had made the observation that the prolonged use of Zankai no Tachi would have eventually destroyed the Soul Society. This shows its sheer destructive capacity, as it implies that Yamamoto would struggle to maintain this level of power indefinitely. During his final confrontation with Yhwach, we see the Captain Commander having expended a significant amount of energy against Royd, thus having very little power left to use against the real Yhwach, thus leaving him vulnerable to the ambush of the Quincy King, which had ultimately resulted in the death of Yamamoto. Ichibē, on the other hand, shows few traditional signs of stamina depletion. Via his battle with Yhwach, he maintained consistent offensive pressure without showing any apparent fatigue. fatigue. His ability to manipulate all the black in the universe suggests that he has access to an energy reservoir that is far beyond individual Reiatsu limitation. When executing Futen Taisatsu Ryo, Ichibē demonstrated the capacity to draw power from across time itself, as he had stolen darkness from 100 nights from the future of the Soul Society, indicating that he has stamina that transcends the limits of normal space and time. I do think that in a prolonged battle, Ichibē's seemingly limitless stamina and his ability to recover would grant him a growing advantage over time, while Yamamoto's normal but extraordinary endurance would gradually diminish over time, especially while maintaining his Bankai sun-like temperatures. However, Yamamoto's capacity for devastating short-term output means that he could potentially end the fight before stamina factors even become a thing to worry about. So I want to now examine their strongest, most ultimate moves and how they compare with each other. Both Ichibē and Yamamoto possess some techniques that fundamentally alter the battlefield and transcend the limitations of conventional combat. Yamamoto has his Bankai Zanka no Tachi, which represents the peak of elemental destruction within the Bleach universe. The 4 directions of Zanka no Tachi each manifest devastating effects which when combined create an almost insurmountable offensive and defensive system. The Zanka no Tachi East technique concentrates all flames at the tip of his blade, allowing it to eradicate anything that it touches from existence. And this ability bypasses normal durability, making it lethal even to beings of tremendous power. Zanka no Tachi North delivers an annihilating force across a distance as it creates a slash of such concentrated heat that it's able to cut Royd Lloyd with minimal resistance while he was imitating Yhwach. What makes these techniques particularly fearsome is their efficiency. Rather than the widespread destruction of his Shikai, Yamamoto's Bankai concentrates all of the power of his Zanpakuto for precise, unavoidable elimination of his opponents. And then his Bankai has those defensive traits with Zanka no Tachi East, which surrounds him with those high temperature flames, and then Zanka no Tachi South, which allows him to summon an army of undead soldiers to fight for him. On the other hand, Ichibē's ultimate technique operates on an entirely different level like we've mentioned, as Shirafude Ichimonji doesn't simply destroy, it rewrites reality. When he renamed Yhwach as Black Ant, he didn't just weaken the Quincy King, he transformed his very existence into something fundamentally lesser, as he made him have the strength and power of an insect. This ability to redefine an opponent on a conceptual level beats any power that just deals with conventional destruction. Even Futen Taisu Ryo, a mausoleum which erases an opponent so completely that they cannot even reincarnate, this isn't just killing someone, but it's a cosmic level of elimination which removes that soul from the cycle of reincarnation. Now, both of their respective ultimate abilities have their own vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Yamamoto's Bankai suffers from a fundamental limitation, and this is its extreme power consumption. The concentrated heat of 15 million degrees will rapidly deplete his stamina, with Unohana noting that prolonged use would eventually consume the Soul Society itself. This creates a critical time pressure for Yamamoto, as he must secure victory before his energy reserves diminish or they destroy everything around him, even his comrades. The Zanka no Tachi West ability, while providing him with untouchable defense, does require him to have conscious activation in order for it to become visible, potentially leaving a brief window of vulnerability during his initial deployment of this power. Perhaps his most significant vulnerability is psychological rather than physical. Yhwach had exploited Yamamoto's honorable nature by sending a subordinate that was disguised as himself, knowing that the head captain would exhaust himself against this decoy. His rigid adherence to his principles creates exploitable patterns that a primordial being like Ichibē might easily be able to identify. Ichibē's limitations, on the other hand, are more subtle but equally significant. His name-based abilities do require physical contact with his ink in order for them to take effect, so if an opponent can maintain distance or neutralize the ink itself, they might negate his most devastating techniques. His resurrection ability, while powerful, requires external intervention, as someone must speak his name in order for it to initiate the process, thus making it potentially useless in a one-on-one confrontation to the death. And this isn't even mentioning the recovery time that Ichibē would require in order to return to his full strength after he has been revived. Now, most crucially, Ichibē's abilities, while nearly absolute, proved to be ineffective against Yōbak once he had access to the Almighty. This suggests that opponents who have control over conceptual reality may be able to resist even his name-based manipulation, establishing that his power, while vast, isn't without countermeasures. So when the ultimate attacks of Ichibē and Yamamoto collide, what will happen? With Ichibē's conceptual manipulation up against Yamamoto's absolute destruction, it creates a very interesting scenario. Can Zanko no Tachi's heat vaporize Ichibē's ink before it makes contact with him? With Zanko no Tachi West's ability being at 15 million degrees, this barrier might create an impenetrable defense that prevents Ichibē from applying his name manipulation techniques directly on Yamamoto. If the ink is destroyed before reaching Yamamoto, the fundamental mechanism of Ichibē's power could be neutralized. On the other hand, if Ichibē could manage to apply his ink to Yamamoto's Zanpakuto or his body, perhaps through a momentary opening or by manipulating darkness at a distance, he could potentially rename Ryujinjaka itself, stripping away its nature as the strongest fire-type Zanpakuto. This fight may hinge on whether if Ichibē is able to get his ink to land on Yamamoto's weapon or his body. Another interesting feat would be the interaction between Ichibē and Zanko no Tachi South. When Yamamoto summons all of the individuals that he has slain with his Zanpakuto, would Ichibē be able to turn the tide of the battle by controlling them? By renaming these undead souls, would he be able to turn Yamamoto's army of undead soldiers against him? Or would Yamamoto's control over these beings prove to be absolute? Now, in terms of wildcards, there's a few things that we need to consider. There's some differences with the historical context of both of these characters. Yamamoto emerged as a warrior during the Soul Society's formative years. He developed battle instincts that were suited for direct confrontation with clearly defined opponents. Ichibē, on the other hand, existed during a time before the very concept of battle itself was defined. This gives him a meta understanding of conflict which transcends conventional combat wisdom. This fundamental difference means that Yamamoto may struggle to anticipate actions from an opponent whose understanding of reality precedes the very framework within which Yamamoto operates. While in this video we've analysed their direct combat abilities, you have to also consider the metaphysical nature of their powers, as this creates some unpredictable interactions. Yamamoto represents the ultimate authority over destruction, while Ichibē embodies authority over definition itself. This creates an almost paradoxical question, as can something be destroyed if its very definition has been altered? So after this comprehensive breakdown of the clash between the leader of the Gotei 13 and the head of the Royal Guard, let's summarize how these ancient powerhouses measure up across all of the different key categories that we've discussed within this video. While Yamamoto's Reiatsu manifests as literal flames that are capable of altering any battlefield that he is on, Ichibē's spiritual pressure exerts authority over the fundamental concepts which define reality itself. The raw power of Yamamoto incinerated multiple Sternritters at the same time, but Ichibē's conceptual dominance proved formidable enough that Yōbak had to use the Almighty in order to overcome it. So for this reason, I think that Ichibē beats Yamamoto in terms of raw combat fundamentals. In terms of the offensive capabilities, Yamamoto's moveset represents the peak of destructive potential, with his Bankai reaching the 15 million degrees that matches the core of the sun, and his techniques that completely eradicate matter from existence. But with Ichibē's ability to strip names from anything that his ink touches, fundamentally negates the concept of power itself rather than opposing it directly. So this ability to redefine anything that our opponent throws at him means that Ichibē wins again in this category. Now when we discuss battle experience, both Yamamoto and Ichibē possess wisdom, but their battle experience exists on different planes. Yamamoto's over 1,000 years of commanding the Gotei 13 represents mastery of conventional warfare, while Ichibei's 1,000,000-year plus witnessing of the formation of the Soul Society and the other realms grants him perspective that transcends ordinary combat understanding. Yamamoto fights within a system that Ichibē helped to define, giving the monk a foundational advantage in comprehending the bigger picture of battle. So again, Ichibē beats Yamamoto in battle experience. And then in terms of technical mastery, while Yamamoto is a master of all Shinigami combat arts and he has demonstrated versatility, Ichibē on the other hand demonstrates impressive physical combat skills as he is able to combine his mastery over all of these different combat skills with his control over names and darkness. So yeah, Ichibē operates outside of normal combat parameters, thus allowing him to bypass ordinary defenses entirely as he is able to attack the foundational nature of his opponent. In terms of durability and stamina, while Yamamoto's is impressive, I don't think that it holds a candle to Ichibē. Ichibē not only withstood direct attacks from Yūhōbaku with minimal damage, but he possesses the ability to recreate himself even after complete destruction. And then with him also possessing this seemingly limitless access to power that is drawn from all of the black in the universe, it creates a limitless advantage in extended combat scenarios. So yeah, in stamina and durability, Ichibē is again the winner. In terms of my final verdict, I do believe that Ichibē wins majority of the scenarios in a battle against Yamamoto, and this aligns with the poll that I ran on the community tab of my channel, where approximately 6,000 of you had voted, where 80% had said that Ichibē would emerge victorious, which aligns with my prediction, and contrastingly 20% had believed that Yamamoto would be able to beat Ichibē. So I haven't made this video to diminish Yamamoto's immense power. The fact that he would even be considered to be able to fight against a primordial being who is able to name all of the things within the Soul Society speaks to the extraordinary capabilities of the head captain. However, in the cosmic scale of Bleach, the authority to define reality ultimately trumps over the most refined expression of destructive power. So we have reached the point of the video where I do want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you guys think would be the outcome in this insane battle against Ichibē and Yamamoto? If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the video. Do you agree with my final outcome that Ichibē would be able to beat Yamamoto in most scenarios? Or do you think that there's something that I've overlooked with Yamamoto which may give him a solid advantage over Ichibē? I look forward to reading all of your thoughts, so definitely continue the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.